International travellers will need to be vaccinated against COVID-19 to fly with Qantas. It's the first airline to propose such a rule. The Australian carrier says the measure could become standard practice for all airlines.
I'm talking to my colleagues in other airlines around the globe, and I think it's going to be a common theme across the board. And what we're looking at is how you can have a vaccination, a passport, an electronic version of it that certifies what the vaccine is it acceptable to the country you're travelling to. So there's a lot of logistics, a lot of technology that'll be needed to put in place to make this happen. But the airlines and the governments are working on this as we speak.
Qantas plans to implement the measure once a vaccine is available to the public. The country's borders have been closed to international visitors since the pandemic began.
Look, we'll leave that to Qantas. As a government, our responsibility is to make sure that our vaccine is available to every Australian. They'll obviously we'll consult on those individual cases, but we'll leave that to the firm to outline its policies. We haven't made any decisions, and the Prime Minister and I have been in contact and reaffirmed that today.
And we have with us Dr. Sanjaya Senanayake, Associate Professor of Medicine from ANU Medical School, joining us live now from Canberra. So, Doctor, now Qantas is the first airline to make this rule. Do you expect that other airlines will adopt the same measure?
Look, I wouldn't be surprised. We heard Alan Joyce, the CEO of Qantas, saying that he's been in touch with his colleagues at other airlines. And you just have to look back on this year to see how badly the airline industry has struggled. And if they will do anything, I think, in their power to try and ensure that airlines are regarded as a safe form of passage, otherwise there will be consequences if airlines have to shut down again.
But, Doctor, I'm just wondering, should the airlines be the one to make this kind of call that a vaccine is needed if you want to fly? Doesn't health authority have to come in? Doesn't the government also have to play a role?
Well, I think it's ideal if both parties are working in concert, definitely. But certainly in Australia, we've seen times when private businesses have shown initiatives going in above and beyond what the health authorities are recommending. One building industry in Victoria, they were testing their workers every day with rapid tests, for instance. Obviously, this is on a much larger scale. And of course, although the Australian government has said they won't make it mandatory for Australians to get vaccines, at the same time they are saying they are thinking about not allowing people into Australia if they haven't had evidence of a vaccination. So that, in a sense, is potentially supporting what the airlines are doing.
So if, let's say, this is the new normal, I mean, just what kind of impact do you think this rule will have on airline businesses?
It might vary according to country, so to different countries. I think in Australia, people have really missed going overseas. So they would probably be very keen to do whatever it takes to get overseas. A recent survey through the Australian National University of about 3,000 people also showed that only about 13% of people were either definitely against or likely to be against immunisation. So I think that the vast majority of Australians would take up immunisation anyway. So I don't think this is going to be as big an issue as it might be in some other parts of the world, for example, the United States.
Interesting, though, because I imagine the logistics of it all is rather large. For example, has everyone got the vaccine? Is it equitably distributed? What kinds of vaccines are being distributed? Are they approved in different countries? How do we navigate all that?
Oh, look, it's going to be difficult. And even if we have a very efficacious in the trial setting or effective vaccine in the real-life setting, you still wouldn't want to be flying into countries with lots and lots of COVID. So you really, you'd want to be avoiding the Northern Hemisphere, because even if a vaccine is 80 or 90% effective, that still means 10 or 20% of people getting on a plane may still be susceptible or maybe carrying COVID. So that's one issue. The other issue is now in Australia, we're talking about potentially rolling out vaccines in around the second quarter of next year, particularly to help frontline healthcare workers and vulnerable people. So people who travel, so maybe young, healthy people, they may not get vaccinated till well into the second half of next year. So that might also delay plans for Qantas in terms of getting people on their flights.
Very interesting speaking with you there, Dr. Sanjaya Senanayake. He is the Associate Professor of Medicine from ANU Medical School. Perhaps a large dose of common sense as well might do us all some good.